Ivan Pavlenko, From Family to Family, Chapter 3, Part 7.1, To Get Higher Education, read by Natalia Buzova. A few days were spent in heavy thinking. The cost of partocrats, detached from the people, vigilantly guarded their privileged environment from dubious, in their opinion, outsiders. Only their own, ideologically pure and devoted Stalinist personnel was allowed into this environment. But even during my short stay in Komsomol and party work, I managed to see what those pure and devoted carriers were often like. In the halls and offices of the district committee, they gnawed like spiders in a jar, collected incriminating material on each other, and in this way made their way up the official ladder. From the high stands, they urged the working and peasant masses to fight for the ideals of communism, while they themselves led an immoral lifestyle, drank at someone else's expense, robbed collective farms, taking grain, vegetables for nothing, fruits, and most often taking them as a gift. Personal cases were sometimes considered based on denunciations against each other or from other people. Punishments, as a rule, were not very severe. Warnings, reprimands, severe reprimands, but if it was about an outsider, or the accused was not only guilty, but also by his act enlightened the entire nomenclature from the inside, then such people were expelled from the district committee and expelled from the party. My library business was going very well. I carefully planned the work, conducted bibliographic reviews of literature, reader conferences, read aloud interesting works, opened an exchange point on the farm, and brought books home to individual readers. Once a correspondent of the regional newspaper, Ivan Pavlenko, came and wrote a long article which was then discussed at a district meeting in the culture department. At the request of former amateurs of the stage, I again became the director of the drama team at the village club. For the first night, I chose Kropivnitsky's play, Give the Heart Freedom, It Will Lead You into Captivity. I wrote out the roles and announced a demand. Learn them by heart. Otherwise, I will not let you on stage. 2 months were spent on rehearsals. I paid special attention to props and makeup. All over the village, my group members collected old Ukrainian clothes, embroidered shirts, corsets, skirts, and plachters, boots, white trousers, chrome boots, and simple straw shoes. With their consent, I cut all the boys' hair pot style with a hair clipper, and on the second day, I trimmed their hair box style. I brought a wonderful backdrop for the stage from the District House of Culture, an evening Ukrainian village, as well as several red trousers and wigs. On the sides of the stage, I put 2 lisas, and I also put a log for večernici, evening meetings. The whole play was filled with song and dances to the accordion and tambourine. The club was packed that premiere night. There was nowhere not only to sit, but also to stand. We had to escort all the children out the door and put guards near them. The performance was a great success. When the curtain was raised, a wave of surprise swept through the hall. A typical Ukrainian village with white houses, streets, and gardens could be seen from the stage in the moonlight, and in the distance, windmills were standing on the hills. The main roles were played by Кирило Антонович Тесленко, Григорій Мусійович Стеценко, Григорій Гаврилович Кумпан, Григорій Ількович Загута, Григорій Савович Нужний, Захарко Олексійович Шостак, Григорій Михайлович Зінченко, Галина Оніпко, Галина Олексіївна Яцеленко, Олена Іванівна Падалка, Галина Леонтівна Бабічна, Уляна Павлівна Солонуха, Катерина Іванівна Матвієнко. After the performance, the whole hall applauded for a long time, and then the foreman of the tractor brigade, Ivan Revorovich Olshansky, came to the stage and on behalf of all the spectators expressed sincere gratitude to our amateurs for the well-played roles. "We haven't seen anything like this yet," he said. "There's no need to go to the theater either. You played like real artists." On the second day, we had pictures taken. Unfortunately, not everyone came. Some of them went to work. I still have this photo to this day. Ivan Pavlenko is in the center, wearing a white shirt and a jacket. We also played Stepan Vasilchenko's play, The First Going Out, very successfully. My reputation as a culture worker strengthened. I often had to speak at district seminars and exchange work experience. At one of the district readers' conferences, based on Pushkin's poem Poltava, I analyzed the Battle of Poltava between Peter the Great and the Swedes. I quoted whole pages of this work by heart, which caused applause at the end. The head of the agitation and propaganda department present at the conference approached me and shook my hand. Whether it was sympathy or praise, I never understood. But I was not going to preserve myself in the position of the village librarian, and I was thinking about my education more and more often. It was necessary to somehow finish the 10th grade and enter the Institute for Extramural Studies. And I sat down at the textbooks. In 1 year, I literally came through all the educational subjects for the 8th and 9th grade. In the summer of 1954, Samila Sergeyevich Padalka returned to his brother Ivan. He came to visit Shura, who had lived with him from 1939 to 1944. We invited him to live with us, but he decided to marry my mother. When he lived with my mother, I learned from him about the Pastova village, where and whose land it was, where the names of corners, meadows, fields, ravines, and pastures came from. He loved this topic, was proud of his Cossack pedigree, called the families that had founded the village by street names. They were real owners. So much fish was caught. It is difficult to say what was the truth and what was a legend, but listening to his story was pleasant. At the same time, he himself glowed with joy. His eyes flashed, sparkled, and sometimes even shed a tear. Finally, I will say that he was an unusual man, gifted by nature with a strong and irrepressible character. He should have been given literacy and a wide field of activity, but he grew like an oak tree in the wilderness. Life-giving energy was bulging out of him. Such fate either raises to the heaven or throws to the ground. He had no children, although he had had two legal wives. He had left the first, Vaska Revena, and left her a beautiful house built together. The second wife, Maria Hrabareva Davydenko, died in 1942. Memories of Samila Sergeyevich live on, and without them, the history of Yashniki would be incomplete. In 1939, he headed a collective farm in his native village. Things immediately got better. He inspired people by his personal example. Where people were, there he was. He was near the threshing machine, picked up a scythe, and mowed the grass in the meadow with everyone else, felled trees for collective farm construction. He got along well with the district authorities. He supplied them with fresh fish, honey, and apples. And in this way, he wrested consent to give people 1 kilogram of grain per working day, since they had not given them more than half a kilogram before. When the war began, he was already 60 years old. He stayed at home in the territory occupied by the Germans and continued to manage the collective farm, which was then called the communal yard. There was nothing compromising about him. Yet, when our authorities returned, they sentenced him to 10 years for collaboration with the Germans, which he served in full somewhere in Kazakhstan. He returned to the village as a gray-haired, stocky old man. People saw in him a man who had innocently suffered from the authorities whom he faithfully worked for. He died at the age of 86 in Lochwitzer, where he lived with his wife's family.